Are you having error establishing database connection problem on your site in WordPress? The first time I saw this error, I was so devastated. Do not panic because I'm going to show you why this error occurs in WordPress and how you can fix it by the end of this video. I'll guide you on how to fix this error without messing up your site and show you how to prevent it from recurring in your site. If you understand why this error occurs, you can easily fix it in future issues. Let's start now. Hello and welcome back. Error establishing database connection in WordPress is probably one of the most common errors in WordPress. In this guide, I'm going to show you the possible causes and how to fix it. A better approach is to first show you how to recreate the error on a sample WordPress site. This will give you a better understanding and will go a long way in improving your understanding of how WordPress works. On my screen here, WordPress has two sides, the database and the application side. The database stores all the information on your WordPress site, the posts, the pages that you publish on your blog. To access this data, we use a communication between the database and your WordPress site on the screen. In the event there is a breakdown in this communication between your WordPress site and your database, it causes this error of connecting to the database. It's very a common error, and the first step should be to find out if your WordPress application is communicating with the database appropriately. There is a file, wp-config.php, and this file is responsible for connecting WordPress to your database. In most cases, if you find this to be a problem on your site, this file will have a possible mistake in the database name, the host, the name, or the password. I've experienced before a case of a WordPress site that has been hacked, and the hackers tend to change this wp-config file in WordPress, resulting into the error establishing database connection. The primary cause of this error will be related to WordPress inability to connect to your database. So let's quickly look at this sample WordPress site that I've set up to see how this error would occur. I have reproduced this error on my local host. I have installed a simple WordPress site for this demonstration. If I refresh my browser, you can see my WordPress application does not connect with the database. And the reason WordPress does not connect with the database is I have switched off the WordPress MySQL database connection. The WordPress application is not connecting to my database because the host database is switched off. I'd like to bring up my localhost console, and I'm using XAMPP. If you're familiar with XAMPP, is a local server that allows you to install WordPress on the local host for testing purposes or for development. As you can see, my server Apache is running, but MySQL is not started. I'll simply click on the start button, and you can see MySQL on my server is now running. If I come back to the browser and run a refresh, my WordPress site should come up and this error will be fixed. It's always good to remember the most important part of fixing this error is to establish if your WordPress application is connected to the database. If the WordPress application is connected to the database and still has the right credentials, there's a likelihood your database is damaged. In such a case, we need to repair the database or go further and create a new database to connect to our existing WordPress application. I'll begin by outlining how you can take care of this problem on your site and fix each and every possible cause of this error. First, WordPress connects to a database by reading the database name, the username, the password, and the server. The database in WordPress is MySQL, and WordPress uses PHP. A quick way you test if WordPress database is connected to your application would be to quickly test with a simple MySQL call to the database. That is a common way an advanced developer would check if they have a server problem. In most cases, this is not going to be an advanced problem. To locate your database files, you need to move to your WordPress application root folder. And in most cases, it's going to be located where your WordPress is installed and in the root folder. In my case, I'm on localhost and I've installed the files on XAMPP. So I'm going to navigate to my local folder so that I can find where my wp-config.php file is located. For the case of XAMPP, you need to go to the folder htdocs, open your WordPress application, and this will have a slight difference or absolutely no difference between the local host and the hosting environment like on Bluehost. So we'll navigate to the root installation of your WordPress site. We look for this file wp-config. We open this file and check our database configurations. You see my database name, which is defined as db_name, is WP tutorial. My database user is Joe, and this is my password. The database host is localhost. The server is localhost because it's related to the local environment. MySQL is simply installed in the local server, so it's relative to the local server. In some cases, you'll find different hosting companies would have remote servers where your database is located as a way of decentralizing the databases. In such a case, you'd have a different IP address or some form of name that would configure your database to the correct location. In most cases of WordPress installation, especially in local installations or in shared servers like Bluehost, HostGator, Namecheap, GoDaddy, the database host will be local in most cases. To check out the database on our local host, we can navigate to our browser and check out the database by accessing phpMyAdmin panel. In the hosting environment, you can also access phpMyAdmin through your cPanel. It's going to allow you to check your database and find out if there is a problem with your database. In my case, this is the database. So I'll quickly click on the database, and you can see my database looks okay. It has all the default WordPress tables, along with other tables that have been added by other plugins that I have installed. The database users will be located in your phpMyAdmin. You'll have user accounts. These user accounts determine how your database interacts with the WordPress application. One specific user will have the global privileges to connect WordPress to your database. In such a case, you need to find out the corresponding information from your wp-config file to your database users. In my case, the user I'm looking for is Joe. Joe is given all the privileges on the database, so the application has the right user, the right password, and all the privileges to access the database. That would not result to error establishing database connection error. So in that context, the best way to begin fixing this problem is to check if your database host details match those that are in the wp-config file. If everything matches on this file, the next step is to check out if your WordPress installation has a corrupt database. A corrupt database can be caused by a number of reasons. It could be hacked, or which is the most common problem in shared hosting environments. I've found in my previous client work databases that have been corrupted and a lot of data lost. And in such a case, the database would not connect to WordPress application in the right way. To fix this issue of WordPress database not working, you need to run a repair on your WordPress database. The best way to run a repair on your database is to run the command define wp allow repair. Let me kindly share with you what you do. You do this by adding the command in the wp-config file and ensuring you're adding it just before the last line. I have my wp-config file opened, so I'll scroll to the bottom and I would add it here, slightly above where they have put a comment here, where the code comment is add any custom values between this line and the stop editing line. This is where we would add our new rule, force the database repair. So it will be wp-config, wp-config file, then the rule will be defined, in quote, wp allow repair. Once you've done that, on the settings page, you are going to see the option to repair your database. It's going to come up, and of course, you need to close this with a colon, then save. Once you visit your front end, you should see the option to repair the database. In my case, I don't need to repair the database because it works. So that's the second way you would fix this issue of WordPress establishing database connection error. Finally, you should check if your WordPress database server is working. If you remember at the beginning of the tutorial, I had stopped MySQL from running. Like in this case, I can stop it. And once I refresh here, my database server will be down and I'll see the error again, error establishing database connection. It's important you talk to your host, or if you have some PHP knowledge, you can write a script that tests your database. A simple script that would test your database would connect your PHP, the database. You'd create a sample database and connect. A simple script would begin by using the MySQL connect function, passing the localhost and username and a password. I have an example of such a code that you can use. This code can be used to test if your database is working. When you're using this code, you'd need to create a new database and test it using the new username and the password. If this does not work, you may consider creating a new database. Creating a new database can be a good way to start things afresh and can also be a good way to restore your site to the original version. If you have a backup of your existing database, you can easily import that data to the new database and everything will work as it worked before. It's also important to change your database details, like the username and the password, if you suspect your site has been compromised. Those are the best approaches you can use to fix the issue of error establishing database connection in WordPress. You can also consider asking your host to reboot your server. This could be a server issue. Another common trick that is found to solve this problem of error establishing database connection involves updating the WordPress URL. The WordPress URL can be updated from your database. You can move to WP options table on your database, which is located, it's one of the WordPress database tables. Once you locate the WP options table, first you need to locate the database, then locate this table. Once you locate the database, then updating this value, site URL, has been found to again fix this problem. You'd update it by putting the value here and simply clicking on the Go button. That's the other way you would fix this problem of WordPress connecting to the database. Finally, I highlighted the errors are caused by database name, database password, or database username, or the server having a poor connection with your WordPress application. I've also highlighted to fix this problem, you need to update the database credentials, the username, the password, the database name, and the host. Once you check your database host information is okay, the host is working, you would need to move to the next step of repairing the database. If that does not work, you might consider asking your host to reboot the database server. If everything fails, you would consider creating a new database and importing the old data in the new database and reconnecting it with your WordPress installation. Those are the ways to fix this error establishing database connection. I hope you find this useful and you consider giving it a thumbs up. I'm sure you can now fix the error establishing database connection problem on your site. If you found this useful, kindly give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.